All right, this is Ubaid on behalf of V Electronics, and in this video, we'll be looking at some issues with sampling. Okay, so this is sort of like a critical evaluation. Okay, so number one, the sample may be biased. All right, so you have a biased sample. Okay, and we've talked about this before. Okay, say for example, you have regular customers in your shop and you sample them for customer survey, okay, in regards to customer satisfaction. Okay, so in that case, the sample may be biased because if you do have regular customers, they must be happy with your shop for them to regularly visit your shop, right? So this has to do with bias sample. Okay, so let's just say inaccurate, invalid, or favorable for some individuals for a certain party. The second issue with samples would be self-selected samples. Okay, so self-selected samples. So rather than having the ability to sample each and every person that you meet, you're only able to sample people you call and people who choose to participate, for example. So in that case, the sample is self-selected by the consumer, okay, rather than by the person who is conducting the survey. Okay, so samples of people who choose to participate. Okay, so that's an example of self-selected sample. Next, you have sample size issues. So this has to do with sample size. Now, your sample size has to do with the size of the sample itself. Okay, so say for example, okay, if your sample size is too small, okay, it may not be representative of the entire population. Okay, we talked about election. If you survey one neighborhood rather than the entire city, it may not be representative of all the neighborhoods within a given city, as a result of which you need a larger sample size. Okay, one neighborhood, all right, may not be representative, may not be a representative of the entire city. Okay, so this has to do with sample size. Okay, next you have undue influence. So undue influence. Okay, so over here, let's say, for example, there is some kind of an influence when you conduct your survey. Okay, so somebody has some kind of influence. So let's say someone has an influence in regards to the survey method, so sampling method, in regards to okay, the type of sample that you collect, in regards to the sampling method, okay, size, okay, location, okay, etc. All right, next you have refusal. So let's say you call people for a survey and some of them refuse. Okay, so refusal, so non-response. So no response. Okay, next you have self-funded or self-interest. Okay, so self-funded. So this is where the business may okay, take a sample out of people they pay to give a certain response. Okay, just like some people pay a given number of people to come and visit an event. Okay, so they pay for a participation within a given event. Okay, if you have a comedy show, somebody might pay the audience to laugh at the comedy show. Okay, so this is self-funded to arrive at a certain result. Okay, to show a certain result. Okay. Um, Next, you have misleading use of data. Okay, so misleading. So this would be because of fraud, scam, okay, corruption, so on and so forth. So misleading, inaccurate data, incomplete data, for example. So this is incomplete. Okay, confounding cannot separate the samples. So this is confounding. Okay, cannot separate the samples. No separation. Okay, so say for example you have ceteris paribus in terms of economics. So when you study the law of ceteris paribus, a theory or assumption or model relevant to ceteris paribus, you consider a price and demand, and you evaluate the impact of price on demand. As price goes down, demand goes up. As price goes up, demand goes down. And that is in terms of consumer demand. Okay, and now when you do evaluate consumer demand based on price, you're considering that is the only factor. Okay, you're considering that one factor amongst many. Okay, there could be more than one factor that may impact demand, consumer demand, such as the factors that change the shift of the curve itself rather than movement along the curve. Okay, so in that case, you're looking at one factor, okay, rather than tons of other factors that may impact the survey. So this may be called confounding, okay, or confoundment. All right, so that will be it for this video. On behalf of Electronics, this is Obey. Have yourself a great day.